Okay, all right. Okay, guys. So we will start with the next topic. We have left out with social mobility. Okay, so we will do social mobility today. Before that, can we go for a quick recap? Can anyone do that? Like what we have discussed yesterday, at least Davis and Moore theory. Can anyone do that? By that time, others will also join. Can anyone do that? Yes, guys. Okay, who will do it? Yes, Sayanti, you will do it? I think you did yesterday, so some other. Anyone else? Anyone else can do? She did yesterday, no? Davis and Moore theory. That's what the simple one. Who will do it? Okay, go ahead. Sayanti, you do it. Tell me the theory. Okay, just 1 minute. I'll just unmute you. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, you can unmute and talk. Just that Davis and Moore. Yes.
Okay.
Davis and Moore.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. So it is there in 3 steps. And first step is proposition, second is in objections, and third is in classification. In proposition step, we have, it is like every society is made up of some positions, and then some functions are some are functionally more important. We talk about that. Like it needs to be filled up with talented ones, which functions are more important, and rewards are attached to those functions, and we to attract the talented people to those positions. Sorry.
Yes.
And then undergoing of the training and sacrifices to get that talent. And in second, Melvin Tuman, where objections come, there it is how to judge, which is more important. Like we took over the example of teacher or doctor, which is more important. We compare it, and how to measure that talent. Apart from the rewards, we have to keep something else. He told that like other motivation schemes, that's not much important.
Alternative
alternative motivation schemes. And in the third, we have the classification in which we clarification in which we go for more uniqueness, which is more unique in doctor or in teacher, like that, and it is based on the degree of dependency.
Okay. Anyone else? Kishan, can you do it? Anyone else?
Yes, sir. Davis and Moore.
Tell me.
This based on preposition. It means position. Every society made up of some position. Some are functionally important. To fill this most important position, most important position with most important talent, we go with rewards and further training, and then after reward training, and the person is in the top of the society.
So social stratification is actually a system which ensures that the society's most important positions are filled with the most talented people, right?
Yes, sir.
Then what's the criticism? What's the objections raised by Melvin Tuman?
Sir, how to judge the importance?
Okay, and then what is the clarification?
Clarification is that it is not difficult. It is difficult but not impossible.
Yes.
And the uniqueness, and the third is degree of dependence. And theory applies on the open stratification system.
Okay, anyone else can do it? Tanya, can you do it? Anyone else? Yes, Siddharth, tell me.
Sir, another objection raised by Melvin Tuman was how to measure that talent. because opportunities are unequal in the first place.
Yes.
Sir, in response to that, what did Davis and Moore say?
No, Davis and Moore saying that some kind of measurement is required, and different society will be based on that. So most important objection is what we need to focus on. No? That's why I have focused more on that. So if you need to judge the talent, that different society will have different parameters based on the relative importance of position, and that's why we even have different exams, right? So that is our different methods of judging the talent. But anyway, that question will remain, that objection will remain the same, that everybody is not getting equal opportunity. It is based on the implicit assumption that everybody is having equal opportunity. So even our constitution is also giving equal opportunity to all. So there is no question of we, arguing against that. So that is obvious in any society that problem will be there. Someone will always get a head start. If you're born for a rich person, for everything, you always, any race, you will have a head start, right? So that criticism is anyway there, but solution, like different society have different parameters, different exams, different system to judge the importance and to measure the talent. And it will come over a period of time. Yes.
So this point we will put in clarifications, right?
In clarification, we mainly need to address that. We have mentioned about others also. Yeah, we mainly need to discuss about how to judge the relative importance of a position. That's the main question. Regarding the talent, regarding alternative motivational scheme, we just mentioned it. Alternative motivational scheme, the modern society cannot function if you just leave it as it is without, what is that alternative motivational scheme? There has to be some reward. If no rewards, now will you be guys sitting here and learning all these things by putting all these effort and wasting time and a lot of energy? If there is no reward, will you be doing it? No. If you are not doing it, can the society get the most talented people into that position? No, right? So rewards are necessary. Then what Melvin Tubman is talking about, alternative motivational scheme, he himself was not talking about that, right? So, okay. So, okay, guys. So I'm expecting all of you are okay with it, and I think everybody have joined, so we can start the session. Yeah, Tanya, Warner's theory is basically talking about to ensure cultural stability. The society is compartmentalized into different stratas. Different people are living in different stratas. If you see any society, different types of people, maybe they can be classified into different class. Even if you see some areas like Brahmins will stay in one area, Kshatriyas will stay in some area, Muslims will stay in one area, Christians will stay in another area. That is based on culture. I'm not talking about Muslims, Christians, Hindus as stratification. Religion is not a dimension of stratification. I've told you that. Don't take it in that way. But caste is a clear-cut dimension of stratification. So you can see Brahmins staying in one area. So what is actually the advantage of this? This prevents the cultural mixing, and such kind of instability will not come. So that will help in maintaining the cultural stability. That is a main advantage. That is what actually Warner is talking about. When the society is compartmentalized, it helps in maintaining the cultural stability. Guys, can you turn off the video? I think 1 or 2 videos are on. 1+, who's this? Just guys, one request, please join with your name also, so that I can understand. Because when we have this many students, I don't know who's joining, and even I cannot call the name as well, right? Okay, so one video is on. Can you just turn it off? Now, what we will do is we will be discussing about social mobility. What is social mobility? What is social mobility? Mobility we have already discussed in the beginning, where we discussed this mobility. When we discussed about the types of stratification, we have understood there are 2 types. One is open system, the other is closed system, right? How we define this open and closed system, on the basis of what criteria, on the basis of what condition we have decided this system, open or closed. Guys, tell me one of the example for open system. One of the example, typical example for open system, class system, right? Typical example for closed system, caste system. So what is that, most important criteria that we have used here? The movement, right? That is nothing but mobility. So if the mobility is possible, you call it as open. If mobility is not possible, you call it as closed. So you born as a poor person, you can be a rich person. That means that system mobility is possible. So that's why it is an open system, class system. You get education, you get occupation, you get better employment, right? You can move, but you born as a Dalit, you cannot become a Brahmin. Yes, we have also discussed about concept of Sanskritization, which I'll be dealing in detail in paper 2. That means that we have already discussed, right? In paper or in theory, even class is considered as open, but there are a lot of structural hindrances. That means it is not necessary that everybody will be getting equal opportunity to move to top, right? Same as the case with caste. Theoretically, it is considered as closed, but there are practical possibilities like hypergamy, hypogamy, and all we have discussed. So ultimately, what we are going to discuss here is mobility. What is mobility? Mobility is nothing but the movement of a person from one strata to other. So you know what do you mean by strata? Stratas are hierarchically arranged. So there is a superiority and inferiority which is attached. So it is either upward movement or downward movement. Okay, guys, there are two types of mobility mainly, vertical and horizontal. Sociologically, we are not giving too much importance to horizontal. It's like this only. You are a, let's say, superintendent of police here in this city, or you are a DCP here in this city, and you will be transferred to another city as a DCP. So here there is no movement or change in the position. Position remain the same. That is a geographical mobility, like transfers. This is not significant for us. We are concerned about vertical mobility, up-down movement. Okay, so you move to the top or you come down. This is what upward and downward mobility. This is what vertical mobility. We give a lot of importance to vertical mobility, and we will study different types of mobility, how you get mobility. That means avenues to mobility, like education is one avenue, marriage is another avenue, right? So getting employment is another avenue. So there are different avenues are there. And even though this much avenues are there, like you get education, you get employment, but still there are many who are not able to move, right? What are the hindrances? What are the constraints? So we will also see the hindrances. So we are looking for what is mobility, what are the types of mobility, what are the avenues to get mobility, what are the hindrances. Now guys, you get a question on stratification. Can you write that answer without talking about mobility? You cannot, right? Because if you need to talk about types of stratification, you have to talk about mobility. Based on mobility only, you can tell open or closed. So if question on stratification is there, you definitely need to talk about types, open, closed. If you need to talk about open and closed, you have to bring in mobility. So mobility is a product of stratification. So just like before, I've told you when we discuss about positivism and non-positivism, what did I told you? If the question is about positivism, you have to talk about non-positivism. Same way, if the question is about non-positivism, you have to talk about positivism. Exactly like that. Here also, if the question is about stratification, you need to talk about mobility. Why? Because mobility is a product of stratification. So even though they're asking you about stratification, you need to write mobility towards the end as a product of stratification. And then you need to talk about open system, closed system, and the dimensions. Even if they're asking about mobility as a question, can you write mobility without talking about stratification? No, right? If you need to talk about movement up, down, you have to talk about hierarchy, you have to talk about strata. So obviously you have to talk about stratification. So both are interconnected, and that's an advantage, right? Because you will not face any problem with the content here. Whether it is 10 marker or 20 marker, both you need to write, because mobility is a product of stratification. No stratification, no mobility. Mobility is required. Why we are studying mobility? We are studying mobility to understand what kind of stratification is there, open or closed. You got me? So we have class stratification, which is open, movement is possible. What are the two types of movement? Upward movement, that's what you call as upward mobility. Downward movement, downward mobility. So guys, these are very simple, silly things, and I hope this is clear. Can you give me one example for upward mobility? You born as a poor person, you become rich, upward mobility, right? How can you become rich? Education, you get a better employment, you do a better business, or you marry a rich woman, or you marry another rich person, you can get mobility, right? These are what you mean by avenues. Okay, again, let's talk about this one. Land reform. Will it lead to mobility? Upward or downward? Land reform. Can I write land reform as an example for avenue of mobility? Or land reform led to mobility. What kind of mobility it is? Upward for whom? Downward for whom? It is both. It is an example for both upward and downward. Some who got the land, those who landless, who got the land, they experienced upward. Those who had the land, the zamindars, they lost the land. So they experienced a downward mobility. Okay, you get a job, you experience an upward mobility. You lose the job, you will experience a downward mobility. You got it? So movement up and down. Now there are different types: quantitative, qualitative. What do you mean by that? Quantitative means in terms of numbers. Qualitative means in terms of text. That is what we have learned. So quantitative means objective social mobility. Qualitative means subjective. Quantitative means you will quantify. Let's suppose you have $1 million with you. Okay, in general, then you will be classified or understood as a millionaire. So if when it comes to India, let's say if you have 7.5 crore net worth, you will be considered as a millionaire and then at the top. That is what considered as mobility in quantitative terms, millionaire, okay, or billionaire. You got my point? So that way you can classify. That is quantitative. Qualitative means based on the quality of the person or the quality of the position. IAS officer, IPS officer, a doctor, they also have money, but not like a millionaire, but that is a qualitative criteria. You got me? So it can be based on quantitative criteria. That quantitative can be education, it can be income, it can be anything. Like you possess so much of degrees. That is also a quantitative criteria. But whether that degree have quality is a different thing. You say some people will keep on writing MA, BA, that degrees and all, right? That is a quantitative criteria. Correct? Then, what about this one? Absolute and relative. There is another type, absolute and relative. Guys, this is similar to that absolute poverty and relative poverty. What is that absolute poverty? This, let's say this is the poverty line, let's say 40 rupees. If you are above this, if your daily income is above this, you are APL. Below this, you are BPL. So when we talk about absolute and relative social mobility, it's like this only. Let's say there are two persons, A and B. Like both are working as a clerk. Okay, imagine both are working as a clerk in an office. So both join together, or let's say sub-inspector. Okay, let's say both are sub-inspector. So both have joined together. They are the batchmates. Now what happened is A got promoted to, let's say, DSP or inspector, sub-inspector to inspector. Okay, so A got promoted, but B did not get promoted. Now tell me, did A experience some mobility? Yes. What mobility? What mobility? Simple term. Upward or downward? A experienced clearly upward mobility. Now, B have any change? No, right? B is a sub-inspector. Now also B is a sub-inspector. There is no concept of mobility here for B. But when we talk about absolute and relative mobility, A actually experienced a mobility. That is what absolute mobility. In absolute terms, there is a mobility. But B will experience a relative downward mobility because this is in relation to A. Both are batchmates, both joined together. Now A got promoted, so he will feel a relative downward mobility. That's what poverty, right? When we discuss about relative poverty, someone using a Samsung phone will feel inferior than someone using an iPhone, right? So that is what you mean by relative mobility. Correct? So here A gained something, A got promoted, A experienced absolute upward mobility, B, without losing anything, experience a relative downward mobility. Can I say simply downward mobility? No, because there is no change. If I need to say, it has to be relative downward mobility. In relation to whom? In relation to his batchmate. Okay, then again, there are different other types, intergenerational, intragenerational. What is that? Inter and intra. What do you mean by inter-college festivals? Between colleges, inter-college sports and all, right? So intergenerational means between generation. Let's say son and father. So inter, between generation. So son of a farmer becoming an IAS officer. What is that? Farmer's son becoming an IAS officer. Upward or downward? Upward. you will write it as intergenerational upward. What is the example? Son of a farmer or son of a clerk becoming an IAS officer. Okay. Opposite, son of an IAS officer becoming a clerk. What is that? Downward. So intergenerational downward. Intra means in our own lifetime, right? There is no need to talk about two generation. Inter, between generations. So we take two generation, father, son. I hope that is clear. These are very simple examples, and guys, these are very simple topics, and I don't think that you will be facing any problem. Did you guys facing any problem in this chapter on stratification or any topic from the first 3 chapters and this one? No, right? So these are simple things, and don't make it complicated. So even in exam also, only simple things will work. Write in simple language. Okay, have the understanding. That's the key. Once you have this clarity, then there is no problem. It doesn't matter whether they're asking 100 words or 250 words. Doesn't matter, right? 10 mark, 20 mark. Don't ask me how to write 20 mark and 10 mark. We already discussed. If you have the clarity, I can talk about this mobility for 1000 words also, 500 words also, even for 20 words also. I can explain to you. And that's the kind of clarity that you need to have. Once you have, then it doesn't matter what is the number of words in the question, right? Things has to be simple. Okay, so can we move to PDF? There are many other dimensions and other mobility. Okay, what are the avenues? Avenues we can talk in traditional society and modern society. Traditional society, what do you think? Avenues are more or less? Today, or in traditional society, the possibility of getting rich was more. Modern society, right? Every day, around 1,000 people are getting millionaires and billionaires, right? So avenues are more in modern society. So what we need to do is in the traditional society, what are the avenues like, fellowship from the king, war, marriage. Okay, these are traditional avenues. Modern avenue, education, democratic political system, new economic system, equality for all, employment opportunities, marriage, whatever is possible. I have given in the PDF. That's it. Everything is given in bullet points, but you need to write it in paragraph. Okay. What are the constraints? Constraints are mainly poverty, illiteracy, lack of awareness, laziness. All these are the hindrances. So we are going to look into all these through the PDF so that things will become more clear. Okay, guys, any doubt from whatever I have discussed so far? Okay, so let's go to the PDF. Guys, someone's mic is on. Please turn off the mic. Okay, so you go for a definition here. Social mobility can be broadly defined as a change in the position of individual or group in the society. So the change can be upward or downward movement. Specifically in the context of stratification, in fact, only in the context of stratification, we talk about mobility. Okay, it refers to movement of an individual or group from one strata to another. The study of social mobility is important in the light of the following points. Studying the nature of social mobility helps us in understanding the nature of inequalities present in society, correct? When you see the kind of mobility and the possibility of mobility and everything, you can actually understand what kind of inequalities, what kind of stratification, whether it is open or closed, right? And all these things. Thus, indirectly, in order to understand stratification, it is necessary to understand mobility. So if the mobility is less, what does that mean? No mobility, closed system. The system is considered closed. And if it is more, the system is considered open. 1 minute, please. Guys, are you okay with the pace? Any issue with the speed that we are going? Any one of you are not able to follow or any issues there? Guys, even if you have any such issues, you can watch the videos, right? So that's why, anyway, I'm expecting that at least you will watch the video also after the class one time. Things will be more clear when you see things, repetitively. And guys, optional, the strategy is always read one book 5 times. Okay, so then that concepts will be clear to you. These things, whatever I have underlined, it has to be printed in your mind. The way I'm explaining to you, you should be in a position to write also. It's not necessary that the same language need to come, but at least those important and relevant things, it has to come in your answer exactly like that. Okay, and it is easy also once you start reading 2-3 times, or when you are listening to. I always tell the student that if you are working out in gym, or when you're walking, or do some time wasting activity, then you just listen to the sessions, right? At least some things will be there in the mind. Social mobility is also reflecting the process of change in society. Ever increasing avenues of mobility in a particular society indicate the existence of a modern society or a dynamic society. So more avenues, modern society, a dynamic society. This concept also has been used to know the nature of society. What does that mean? Less number of avenues, traditional society; more avenues, modern society. In this context, social mobility is considered as an integral dimension of the process of modernization. Instances of mobility in traditional society are low. In pure cultural context, the traditional societies, since stratification was mostly ascriptive, mobility was also limited. Guys, what is ascriptive? What is achievement? Everything we'll discuss when it comes to parsing. But understand, ascriptive means some inherent things. Like when we talk about caste system, that is ascribed status, right? That is what you see in the traditional society. Modern society, class system, which is achievement oriented. You make some achievement, you do business, you become successful, right? You get better job, you get better education. That is achievement oriented society. You achieve certain things, then you will move to the top. Traditional society, this caste system, which is ascribed. You born as a son of a Brahmin, it is ascribed status. You are automatically at the top. So traditional society is based on ascriptive status. Modern society is completely based on achievement. That's why even Brahmins, you can see their this with study, that is Harold Gould, right? That study Rikshawala. What it says? Even the Brahmins are working as a Rikshawala in cities because it provides anonymity, right? They run this tea stalls and everything because of anonymity. Otherwise, in traditional society, they won't do that. In villages, they won't do that. They can't do that. Guys, can you just remove that? Someone have marked something there. Okay. I'm not talking about these concepts of Sanskritization and all now. We have discussed about this. Just read this. Now, the types of mobility. There are two types. It is based on the direction. One is vertical, horizontal. Horizontal, it's the transfer. Mainly, in simple terms, if I need to tell you, it's the transfer postings. Your position is not changed. Only the geographic. You are a bank manager in X city. You are shifted, transferred to city Y. Still, you are a bank manager. Okay, there is no change, and we don't want to study that sociologically. Vertical is what very important for us, like upward and downward promotions. Now, the type of mobility. Parshuram, can you just remove that one? There is an eraser, and we can remove that. Yeah, someone else also have drawn. I don't know who's that. There is an eraser. I cannot do it from my side, guys. I don't know. Okay, it's okay. Intergenerational and intragenerational. Guys, do you want me to read this? It is the same thing, right? The son of a clerk becoming an IAS officer. The reverse also you can write upward and downward. Okay. Intragenerational, like land reform. One example. People lost the land, people got the land. That is intragenerational. So any mobility, you guys are going to become an IAS officer or IPS officer. You experience a mobility. What is that? Intragenerational. In your lifespan, you are working and you are getting it, right? That also become intergenerational as well, because your father, most of your father belong to middle class, right? And obviously it is going to be intergenerational also. Only one or two belong to this bureaucrats, right? Absolute and relative. I hope this is clear. So I just read this example only. The other thing you can read, what I've explained, only the same. One person experience absolute upward mobility. That's what I told you. A experience a promotion. So absolute upward. by gaining something, that means he got promotion, or he, see, simply you two friends are there, you become rich. That means absolute mobility. Compared to you, the other person now is poor, right? So the other person experience a relative downward mobility. But here, remember, when I'm talking about downward mobility, it is not a demotion. It is not by losing anything. It is in comparison to other person without losing anything. Now, objective, subjective, it is nothing but quantitative and qualitative. Objective is based on quantitative criteria. You earn $1 million, then you will be a millionaire. You start a company, $1 billion company, you become a billionaire. Okay. Subjective, social mobility. That is based on some qualitative criteria. You may not consider making $1 million as your goal, right? I don't think any one of you are considering, then you will not be here. You could have done some other better business. You will be considering what you are looking for is a kind of qualitative mobility, right? And this is what slightly difficult one, subjective. This is easy. Anyone can make money. Structural and okay, this I missed out. Structural and circulation. Guys, structural mobility means, let's say this is a bank, okay? And you are an employee of the bank. So traditional banking setup, what is that? It is like everything you need to write in the paper, and then you come at them in the morning, 9 o'clock, and you will be going home by 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, only after completing all the works, writing all the accounts and everything. But is that the case now? It's like a banking job is the easiest job. Just need to enter into the computers, right? So what happened is there are some changes which has happened due to these technological advancements. Now you're saving a lot of time. Earlier you are coming to home at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Now you can come at 4 p.m. That means you are saving time. Saving time is a kind of mobility. You can spend time with your family. You can do other kind of jobs. You can improve your knowledge. You can learn new things. All these are part of mobility. Okay. So this is an example for structural social mobility because of some structural changes, some advancements in technology, or you got some new knowledge. Because of all these, you experience that means you're already part of the occupational structure. You are already part of this. Because of some changes in the structure, because of some advancements in technology, because of some new trainings that you got, you are experiencing a mobility. That is what structural social mobility. Circulation social mobility means, it is very simple case. It is that you're not part of the structure. When you're joining the occupational structure, you experience a mobility. That is what circulation social mobility. So structural social mobility is the mobility of people who are already part of occupation structure because of change in technology, skill, education, or new policy. People become socially mobile. On the other hand, there are people who are outside the structure. When such people enter into occupation, it is referred as circulation social mobility. What is sponsored and contested mobility? Sponsored mobility means due to some policy support or anything you experience, let's say the reservation, Dalits, right, or the OBCs. When they are getting reservation, they are experiencing a mobility. That is what sponsored mobility. Contested mobility, it is through open competition. So simple. So sponsored mobility is one which a person acquires due to some policy or support, reservation. Contested mobility is due to open competition. So guys, if you get a question like this, compare stratification and mobility, talk about inequality, talk about differences, talk about stratification, then all those processes which we have discussed, then talk about mobility, talk about open and closed based on the avenues. Then mobility as a product of stratification, which we have discussed, and the different types of mobility, which we have discussed. Also, you need to talk about sources and causes of mobility. Guys, there are different sources. Just go through this. Sorokin listed. This is very important for you, like demography, talent, and all these things. But this is what you need to focus more. What are the sources? What are the avenues? Traditional society, avenues are very less, limited. What are the most common avenues? Gaining political power through wars, business success, inheritance of wealth, sponsorship by the king. Modern society, Political system, democratic society, representative form, contesting election. You can contest election. You can contest election. You can win. So equality of opportunity. You can acquire power, and it is open to all. That is a way for political mobility, right? Economic system, skill-based occupation. Now, one thing that I always tell to all my students: you need to acquire one skill. It doesn't see there is nothing which is sure in life, right? Whether you get into this exam, you may give 6 attempts and nobody is sure what is going to happen, whether you will be able to give exam after maybe 2 years, right? But a skill is always required. One skill that you have to learn for life, and that will help you for lifetime. So you have to identify that skill which is not going to reward you for 1 or 2 years, but for the lifetime. Okay, and learn that. Always make sure that you have a skill, guys. Okay, always. Expansion and occupation. Different types of, now again, that what I'm telling is this is something which is very important, especially due to the possibilities and everything that you have in the modern society. Increase in economic activities, vast employment opportunities in government and public. Okay. Education, open to all, massification, medium of acquiring skills, increased awareness, enhancement of choices, technology, changes in technology, culture, modernization of culture, more freedom now. Women is getting more freedom. So that is again mobility. But these, we will write the same thing in a different way when we talk about hindrances. Even still culture is a hindrance. Like that we will write. Okay. Culture will tell you to go with only specific occupations. Okay. A relaxation of rigid norms and values. Now, in general, factors affecting mobility can be both personal and structural factors. Guys, all these you can just read it. Industrialization, urbanization, very important factor. Education, right? Social capital. Social capital means, what is capital? Economic capital, the money that you have. Okay, that is the capital that you have. When we refer to capital, it is a money. Social capital means it is a relatives, it is a friends, that group that is there to offer you unconditional support, not prestige or anything. Guys, if there are someone who's ready to offer you unconditional support, that's what your social capital. It could be mainly from your father, mother, your wife, your kids, your brothers and sisters and cousins and relatives mainly, and then friends, and then the community. These are what you mean by social capital. Occupation, social and cultural values, social movements. Like we will be studying women movement, how it helped women, Dalit movement, how it helped in the empowerment of women, Dalit, peasant movement, farmers movement, everything. Law and constitution, equality, rule of law, and all these are giving opportunity to mobility. Migration, physical features, but not that significant. Some of you are physically, very much capable of doing certain things, right? Even this models and all, right? They are surviving because of that. So that is a physical feature. Technology, subjective factors, type of systems, political factors, go through that. These are self-explanatory. What are the hindrances? Lack of resources, poverty, poor health, poor education, less choices. Mainly for poor people, this is the problem. Illiteracy, okay? Cultural hindrances, cultural bias towards particular occupation. We will see that when we discuss another topic, patriarchy and sexual division of labor. There is a division of labor based on sex. Women is categorized into certain particular jobs in that situation. Lack of freedom, low preference for education, stress on family values, religious restrictions. Guys, all these you need to write in paragraph. Just don't reproduce the way I have written here. To make things simple, I have written like this. When the question is asked, you have to write in paragraph. But you don't want to write this much. 2 or 3 points is enough. The main points is enough. Psychological factor. Not even worth reading this. That's why I'm skipping it. Okay. That's it. That's it for today. It's a very simple topic, guys. Any doubts, anything you want to ask me about today's session? Because tomorrow I'll be starting with thinkers.